2 days after I got my puppy, he was supposed to die. I woke up early in the morning to him screaming. I mean, blood-curdling type of whining and screaming that turns your skin inside out. And I called the vet, which was right around the corner, and they heard him and they said, "Is that him?" I said, "Yeah." They said, "You got to bring him in right now." Now, this little puppy was a 3-pound husky. He was about 6 weeks old. He was supposed to be 8 weeks. Family gave him to me too early. And I took him in, and they brought him in and they said, you know, "This is not looking very good." And, you know, over that short couple of days, I had already developed a pretty deep bond with this little guy. And I was never the type of guy who thought I'd be super into, you know, an animal and be all emotional about it. And, man, it was wrong. And so I took him in, and they said he's going to have a blood transfusion. Mind you, this is a 3-pound dog. And he had about a 20% chance of making it. At that point, I went outside the vet and just started crying. I could not control it. I thought I was responsible. What have I done wrong? What could I have done differently? You know, they assured me there was nothing, but that was the reality of the situation. So a few hours later, I came back, and he was wrapped up in a towel with IVs in him, and they said, "You have to take him to the emergency vet. We can't take him over the weekend. We have no idea if he's going to make it." And so I literally, my buddy thankfully was there, and he drove me about 25 minutes to the emergency hospital, literally not knowing if my new best friend was going to die in my arms, which is a very weird feeling. And I took him in, and the first thing they said when I got into the bloody vet was, they were on the phone with somebody else, and they said, "Oh, would you like to pick up his ashes?" I'm like, "Oh, great, thanks for the reminder that death is, you know, not too far away." And so they end up taking him in, and they cannot diagnose what's wrong with him. He's in there for a day, 2 days, and part of this, you know, I really have no idea what's happening, right? I've got no idea what's going on, and so they say, we can't figure it out. We've run every test possible. And during this time, I was starting to have really severe stomach issues. I was getting sick, which I never would have wanted to admit, that emotions could have had such a massive role on my health, but clearly they were. And, you know, at this time, it was a few $1,000s that it was up to. And my dad had called me, and he's like, "Well, when are you going to stop? You know, how much money are you going to spend?" And for me, it was like, you know, I have the money. There's no greed. I'm not going to let greed kill this dog. There was no amount that I was going to stop at. And I don't say that out of some way of showing having money or anything. But, you know, basically what happened is I ended up getting a video a few days later. He's been in the hospital for about 7 days at this point. I finally get a little video of him eating boiled chicken. And, you know, he hadn't eaten since I got him. And he ate this boiled chicken, and man, I just started crying. I was out at sushi, and I just started bawling, and because I felt like that was him turning the corner, which they assured me that, you know, nothing was solved. They still didn't know what was wrong, and if anything was actually going to end up being okay. But leading up to that point when he ate that boiled chicken, I'd been thinking some dark thoughts, which is pretty unusual for me to go that dark. And, you know, what I was thinking was, well, what am I going to do if he dies? What am I going to say to people? People have already seen him in pictures and videos and stuff. You know, here's the guy who killed his dog. And I'm thinking all these terrible thoughts. And I realize that, you know, it's very much like my career was in tennis, where when I was losing, all I was always thinking was, man, what am I going to tell people if I lose? And, you know, thinking about how bad it feels right now. And so, you know, and I thought, you know, top-level athletes, they're not thinking that way. What they're thinking is, you know, how's it going to feel to win, and how am I going to come back? So all I started thinking was, when Poseidon is better, not if, but when, I'm gonna take him on a road trip. We're gonna go hike and do all sorts of shit, and we're gonna travel, and I'm very happy to say that Poseidon is right here, aren't you, sausage? And hey, say hi. And we are currently in the Grand Canyon, traveling across the US, driving, and it's pretty incredible. He's a little over 2 now, so it took a little time. But you know, the point of this story is that in those moments when you think there's no way out, or you can't stop that, how's it going, that negative cycle, you know, I reverted back to a story that I had heard when I was about 19, which is an old Native American tale about a grandfather and a grandson. The grandfather says to his grandson, inside each of us is a battle between 2 wolves. One wolf is love, peace, kindness, it's the good wolf. The other wolf is hatred, sorrow, malice, that is the bad wolf. And the grandson asks, which wolf wins? And the grandfather says, the wolf you feed. And so, while Poseidon was trying to die and staying alive, he had a 5% chance of survival. I made a promise that if he made it out, when he made it out, Poseidon, hold on, I would. Oh, can you see it? Get that tattooed on my forearm as a reminder. A couple of things. One, to feed the good wolf. In each moment you have a decision. You can feed the good wolf or the bad wolf. Whatever's happening around you, your circumstances are out of your control. Most of the world is outside of your control, but you can control your attitude and which wolf you feed in each moment. And so it's a reminder to me to feed the good wolf. And it's a reminder to feed my dog, because he needs to eat a lot. So, you know, whatever situation you're in, there's always a choice, and you can build the habit of making the right choice. I want to say one final thing about this, which is it ended up costing me over $10,000 just that week to save Poseidon's life. And, you know, money gets all sort of stigmas, and people look at it as superficial or vain, or, you know, people have all sorts of beliefs about money. But the reality is, for most people that would have had Poseidon, he'd be dead right now, and I would not have my dog if I didn't have money. So, if you ever demonize money, you think of it as bad, or if people ever shame you for having it or anything like that, realize that it's a lot better to have money than not to have it. And you never know what it's actually going to do and what sort of life it can save. And, you know, I honestly, I can't imagine a life right now where Poseidon wasn't alive, but he'd be dead if I didn't make a good bit of money. So, you know, money is a way to amplify your life and in some cases, save one.